So, Toodaloo, you're a burlesque clown performer who's been doing this for 10 plus years. You went to school for this and now you travel across the country. You've performed at various, circus events and festivals and workshops. And if there's a performance related aspect to it, it seems like you've done it. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Yeah. Thanks for having me. You made me sound so good at my job.
You are good at your job. You have fantastic stuff. So what got you into clowning in the first place?
Gosh, what didn't get me into clowning? Honestly, my whole life is a joke, and I just leaned into it.
There you go.
But yeah, growing up, I have lived in various really big cities, and within those big cities, there's a really big ecosystem of entertainment and being sort of a gesture to the world. And I was like, I really want to be a part of that. That and Robin Williams. What an inspiration.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. What kind of big cities?
Oh yeah. So well, I was born in New York City, Queens, New York City. Queens, the land of Spider-Man. We love him there. And then I moved to Vegas, and then from Vegas I moved to Seattle, like in the depths of Seattle is where I went to college, in the middle of downtown, right before Amazon.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, so I'm like a super big city guy. I love skyscrapers and the sounds of people screaming at night through your window. I've never seen livestock before in real farms. Maybe about 2 years ago, I saw a cow for the first time, and I didn't know that they came in other colors besides black and white. Did you know that?
Oh, okay. I grew up in a somewhat rural-ish area. My first girlfriend had 13 cows. They're like giant dogs.
What? You can have them as pets?
Kind of, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm jealous. Love cows.
Okay, so big city influences. You mentioned New York City. I know that there's a huge and vibrant art scene there. So you grew up there. Was any of New York City a pretty big influence on you in the arts and, that aspect of your life?
In a way, I suppose. I was there as a little kid, as a child.
A wee child.
Yeah, a wee baby. And so none of those memories really super stick with me because I'm
Gotcha.
a little bean, still cooking. And but at the same time, that city is so crazy and vibrant all the time and everywhere you step that it just felt so normal. You know what I mean? I'm trying to not devalue the kind of art and amazing scene New York City is by saying that I don't really remember, but I'm saying that because
I mean, you're a wee child, right?
Well, yeah. I'm a wee child, but also to me, that's just how the world is everywhere. It didn't.
I see.
It wasn't so special because it was there's so much to do everywhere, and I was like, this is normal. This is a normal thing.
You were born there. That's just your experience. You didn't really know much else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, when I moved here and it was a little bit more quieter, that's what stuck out to me, and that's what I remember. I'm like, that's weird that you guys closed your restaurant at 8. Okay.
It was a shock to me too. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, just it felt so normal being awake at 2 a.m, and that is when you want dinner and you go down to your local Chinese restaurant that's still open. Take some delicious ribs home and that little carton that they give you. The food. The food is so good.
I miss it the most.
Yeah, I miss it.
Okay, so you went to college in Seattle for, was it performing arts or clowning specifically? What kind of disciplines did they have there?
No, actually. So I went to college for my degree was in motion design.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. I really was into film and advertising, and I really wanted to work on that kind of vibe. And well, I didn't really know. I was like 18. I was like, what is the world? I'll do something. But I was really good at art, I guess, according to my teachers. So I applied to go, and I was doing motion design, and it was fun. And but my college is really big on producing like well-rounded artists, and so even if you are in one specific discipline, in order to have enough credits to graduate, you have to have credits outside of your discipline, which I think is great. I think it's a great model. Like, see how else other people work. And so even if like you are a designer, you can take dance classes, or if you're like a professional dancer there, you can take music classes and things, vice versa. And so when I was doing these like design classes, I was really interested in theater because in high school I did a lot of theater. I was one of those annoying theater kids that couldn't stop belting show tunes
Thespians,
for
yeah.
no reason. And I really missed it, and so I was like, what other theater classes can I take? And they had clown school and like clown classes there. And in my theater training, I did a lot of mime work and mask work, which was so fascinating to me. And I figured it was like kind of similar, or like something that I could pick up easier. So I started clown classes there while doing some other classes. Yeah, it was really fun.
That sounds amazing. So you and I have very different college experiences. So for context, I have a computer engineering degree. I went through like brutal calculus and differential equations and very math heavy stuff. I have no idea what your world is like, and I would love to know more. What are those classes like? What do they teach? What do you do?
Yeah. So honestly, I want to know about your world too. Like, math is so foreign to me. But yeah, so for classes, it started at the beginnings of clowning, and the way that they sort of awake that within you, it's very cerebral. It's very like conceptual.
Okay.
So you kind of have to, at first, so you kind of have to like break the barriers of your own mind and your own like I don't know, setbacks and boundaries, mental blocks and stuff. So you kind of have to let yourself be free into becoming an idiot. You know, you have to release all embarrassment and become embarrassment. You know, face your fears of like being made fun of, because that's your job.
Yeah.
But and I think honestly, that was like the most valuable thing I learned at school, like because I was already so self-conscious, and like I am a young adult in a new city without my family. I'm all alone. I don't know who I am in the world, and who do I trust, and what do I do? Who am I? Right? And so having somebody come to you and say, hey, it's okay that you don't know what's happening, because like no one knows what's happening.
No one knows. They still don't.
They still don't. And you can be that conduit to show people that like all of this is a joke. Like, this could be funny. Like, release the fears of being, you know, the one that like stands out for the wrong reasons and things like that. So that really helped. And then from there, you kind of have to like apply that to, you know, physicality and get like in your body. And then a lot of studying emotions. It's a lot of emotional work. I had many breakdowns working on trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But in the heart of clowning, it's sort of making a farce of each emotion, and like sort of exaggerating every little thing that people could feel so that it becomes ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so you know, you have to go through like your own emotional work and like go through different feelings and study like um I don't know if you have to like study psychology. Maybe that'll
Sure.
help. Maybe that'll make me better at my job. But like, yeah, it's a lot more well-rounded and more like inner workings than a lot of people might think.
Yeah.
Like when someone says clown college, you're like, oh, juggling, right? Am I right? But really, it's like no, crying.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I didn't realize until I spoke to a lot of clowns on this show, but just the deep emotional work that you have to do both inside yourself, but also understanding the emotions of the audience and how that can change on a whim. And you just have to be prepared on how to navigate that. Like there's a very fine line from being funny and offensive, and you just kind of have to like dance that very carefully while reading the room and still be engaging and, putting on a good show. It's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And you have to just like go with the flow. It's like being a DJ, you know?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like playing music and then you're seeing if people are dancing.
Uh-huh.
And then you put on another song. And if people are not dancing, you're like, uh-oh, I'll put away this song. Sorry, Blondie, you know? But yeah, you just kind of have to like work with the vibes and what the audience will give you.
So, what was it like letting go of your ego, and what did that mean for, your feeling of self-worth and your confidence and how you present yourself to the world?
It is hard. um, it hard and easy, I suppose, at the same time. If I'm honest, when I first started this, because I was so young and I was like just barely trying to figure out who I was as a person, I was already pretty malleable, and I didn't have a really strong, I guess, like ego or sense of
Yeah.
self. I had a really low self-esteem actually, which is like one of the reasons why I wanted to get on stage and like figure out how to be okay with myself. And mostly just get how do I phrase this? um uh Starting to realize that you get in your own way a lot is like really eye-opening. Even if you don't have like a really big ego, like you can still get in your own way where like I thought that I was worthless and like not funny and I couldn't offer anything and I was not very valuable. And because of that, it was really hard for me to like learn and accept that like I'm gaining a skill and or I can be good and I can be valuable and I can be like talented. And if I just sit here and I cry and I say like, well, I'm actually nothing and this is nothing and I blah,
Yeah.
then I'm not going to be good at the thing that I want to be good at.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So but that process is really uncomfortable, when you sort of grow up thinking these things about yourself and then all of a sudden having confidence to say like, yeah, I do deserve this. Like it's very uncomfortable and like weird to kind of accept that because you're just so comfortable being like how you were
As you
before.
are, yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm fine sitting here crying and pretending that I mean nothing to no one,
Yeah.
So it was yeah. So letting go of that ego, that sense of self is really difficult and is an ongoing process. It's like I'm not fully there yet, even now, like 10 years later. And I think that continuing that process throughout your life is really important, and like
Yeah.
never saying that you're done or finished, sort of discovering yourself and like letting yourself go and letting yourself experience these things, because I mean that's when the death of an artist is, and they're like, oh, well, I'm
Yeah.
done and I'm the greatest and I've learned everything. My time is gone.
I find it fascinating because I've talked to a lot of performers, and a lot of them, way more than half, are usually very, they don't have great self-confidence. They have a lot of anxiety. They're nervous, and then they go through being a performer, and Hi, Ashes. What a
She's a
sweet.
performer.
She's definitely a
Get me
performer.
on the stage.
In mere seconds, she might show us her butthole, as all cats
Oh my
do.
God, not for free. Girly.
Right? But performers, like they then go through like that performer training, whatever craft that is, where it's singing, dancing, whatever. And on the other side, they become wildly confident, at least on stage. But it improves their anxiety. They develop skills. They have confidence now. What I find interesting about clowns specifically is you have all of the aspects of being a performer, but then you're also forced to do the deep emotional work because that's kind of what clowning is, and you can't ignore that. And the other arts you can kind of skate by and put up walls to kind of protect yourself from that. I feel like you can't do that with clowning. At least you're forced to confront that.
Yeah. People are always like, yeah, there's no fourth wall in like burlesque or clowning or anything like that, or well, in any sort of like
Yeah.
theater or whatever. There's not even a building in clowning. It is a glass wall or glass window or nothing there. It's, yeah, you're so vulnerable.
Okay.
You have to be seen. But yeah.
Speaking of vulnerability, what was that transition into burlesque clowning like? Why did you decide to niche down into that area specifically?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this is a great little segue. So when I was in school taking clown classes, my school also offered burlesque classes. It was a very liberal school. It was a great school. But on that same vein of being very self-conscious and like still figuring myself out, I had a lot of like body issues. And unfortunately, when I went to college, I went through a lot of like assaults and different like boundary breakings in terms of my body. College is so unsafe.
It really is. I'm so sorry that you went
Young
through
women,
that.
man, it's rough out here. But because of that, I had a really low sense of like self-worth in terms of I don't know, yeah, my head and stuff, but also my body. I felt very disconnected to it. I was like, what is this meat sack? Why is it so valuable to other people? Like, I don't care about it. And then of course growing up with bullying, especially as like a young woman, you're either like you're too skinny, you're so fat, you're so ugly, you have pimples, oh my god, you have brown eyes, they look like poop. Like it's really hard to like feel grounded in this body that everybody is telling you that is worthless unless it's like giving a man pleasure. So when I'm becoming like this adult and I'm trying to find myself and like, what do I do with it? So they had a burlesque class there that you could take, and I signed up for it because I really wanted to push myself to kind of see myself in a better light, to like get back into my body, because the way that they advertised it was that like the teacher was amazing and she went around to a lot of students and was telling people about it, because a lot of people had misconceptions about it.
Sure. Yeah.
There's some conservative people that are like, this is just stripping, and we're teaching like young girls and minors to like strip, blah blah blah. But it wasn't like that. And so the teacher went around and was like, this is a class that's like for everybody. Anyone can take it. You can use it as like a conduit to like find yourself, be comfortable in your body, be okay with your sensuality, like feeling sexy and empowered on your own terms. Like that's what it's about. And I was like, okay,
Okay, cool.
say
Tell me
more. So I signed up to do it with one of my best friends, and yeah, we were the loudest class. We were a menace. And then at the end of the class, we ended up being like the two hosts, because at the end of the class, we put on a show that people can come and see our
That's
work.
cool.
Yeah. And so the two of us ended up being the hosts of the little cabaret. It's really funny. But yeah, it was all of those things and more I found out when I took the class. And it is helping me.
I think that's amazing. Yeah, because a lot of people, like you said, especially in that age range and demographic, they struggle with those issues, feelings of, being worthless, feeling worthless. They are not worthless, feeling worthless. A lot of societal expectations. A lot of women feel the pressure of men's gaze and, the demands on their body. College, like you said, it's a very unpleasant place if it's navigated poorly. It's a very rough time out there from, all the things I've been told. Yeah, but I'm glad that, those classes exist to give you a platform and the opportunity to kind of explore these aspects of yourself, develop the self-confidence, and be told that these aspects of your being are not or only okay, but it's cherished and it's something that you should be actively developing. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I should have said that.
Just like that. No, that's awesome. So since college, you decided to keep, going down this route. What was it like kind of going out into the real world? Because at least for me and like the engineering background, like, oh, I graduated college, I have a degree, I go get a tech job somewhere. It's a very clear path. I feel like that's less true for clowning, but I also have no idea.
Yeah. It's a little wibbly wobbly.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite a straight path.
Okay.
It is a lot of hustling. I feel like with normal human jobs and especially like tech jobs and stuff, it's a really clear path because like society makes way for these kinds of jobs and make them important. And you're going to find a job and there's lots of people that you can work for and there's a lot of people to help you and we all need you. But I feel like with any sort of art or performing and in clowning especially, no one is really like advocating for you to be there. You know what I mean? Like it's not seen as like a necessity or anything that like anyone needs or is important to have around, and also not as like a real job or source of income. It's seen as like it's a hobby or you'll grow out of it and like, oh, it's funny for now and whatever. um, but because of that, you kind of have to be your own advocate and really hustle and sort of make your own pathway because there isn't one set for you. You kind of have to like go out there and be like, actually, you're wrong. I'm so valuable. Can you imagine how boring your life would be without me?
Yeah.
I don't like it. I think you need this. So you kind of, it is harder because you just have to like push through and like really say to people like, yeah, I should be here. And I'm good at it, so you should pay me. So it's and of course, it's a lot of side gigs as well. You need some sort of human money,
Of course, right,
if you
right.
can't like supplement it. But it is possible to just be a full-time idiot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's so challenging stepping out in the world, going from clown school to clowning. Because one, you're hit with all of the challenges of being like a freelancer. Like I started a freelance photography business. It was really fucking hard. And that's when people knew what I do. There's a clear demand for it and I'm good at it. And I try to fulfill that demand.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be easy, and even then it was very hard. So I imagine for a profession to where the challenges are sky high, the demand is unclear, and society looks down on it, all of these things stacked together makes it damn near impossible. So good for you. I imagine it was hard.
Oh yeah, that stacked on top of like the stripping aspect of it, like
Yeah.
it's doubling down.
Yeah.
Just like not good.
Okay. So how did you go about, finding work in that arena in the early days? Was it just a lot of networking and, finding the community around that and just kind of reaching out for support? What did it kind of look like?
When I graduated college, I was really fortunate in the fact that when I had those last performances and stage chime and stuff like that. So like when I present my like BFA or like when I
What is a BFA real quick?
oh, bachelor of Arts.
Fantastic. Just in case for those listening.
Yes, yeah, I got a BA, a a a baddie, Addy. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Boo. Take away my clown credentials. That's not funny. But so the last parts of my college career, when I was presenting my last projects of my BFA and my performances after taking clown classes and the burlesque class. So I got like a couple of different shows to say to the world, like, hey, come look at me.
Hey, I'm here. Yeah.
Hire me. So I was fortunate enough that when I did those things, there were some people out in the community, like working artists and working performers who have already made a name for themselves, come to my presentations and my performances and stuff like that. And they liked what I did. Thank God. And, reached out to me either through like my email, or they like through me directly, or they go through the school and they contact, my professors and stuff. And they're like, oh my God, who was that like tiny little baby? That like weirdo in the corner. Tell us about it. So I was fortunate enough to sort of already have people to reach out to and like mentors who like were interested in helping me grow in their communities. That's kind of how I got my foot in the door with burlesque. I had like a really good mentor who reached out to me immediately after I had graduated and offered me like a job and a spot on stage. So shout out to her. She's great. Shanghai Pearl is her name. A super great performer. And because of that, all you need is that like one little grain or that one little step onto the snow, and then you snowball all the way down. And it just like accumulates, and then people just start like getting attached to you. And then I have adopted like so many good friends. But you really kind of form a kinship with other artists when you are in the depths of like performing and in the depths of it all, when you're all naked backstage and it's just, you're stuck in a closet together and it's like 5 of you shoved in there, you're going to be good friends. And then that way from there, they're going to maybe think about you later when they're at a job and be like, oh my God, like I have this thing coming up, blah, blah, will you like to be a part of it? Yeah, or vice versa, where I'm like, I remember this one person who did this blah or whatever, and like, we sort of just like help each other out, and then once you go out there a little bit more, it just accumulates. You start meeting people, and then it just grows. And I'm so sorry. What was the question?
No, you're completely fine. The networking aspect of, the burlesque community, and just, it's fantastic. I've been shooting burlesque shows for a number of years from the photographer, videographer side, and just the people that I've talked to are so inviting and welcoming. So I can imagine the camaraderie and the support backstage. You really develop really nice friendships back there. And like you said, whenever there's a spot in a show that needs to be filled, or you're trying to organize their event, you think of your friends, you think of the people that you worked with, and you call on them and be like, hey, I got this cool thing, you interested? And usually it's a yes. And that sounds lovely.
Yeah, maybe it's trauma bonding.
It's probably trauma bonding, but we're just gonna say
say networking. No, but yeah, of course you're gonna remember the people that like made you laugh, and the people that made you feel good, and you want to work with those people again, and so you reach out and be like, yeah, I have a spot.
Is there a favorite show that you were a part of?
Girl,
tell me more.
So many. I've been a part of so many that have been such a good time. I think my favorite though has to be my first ever gig, because it was a continuous gig that just kept going. Basically, there is a restaurant here in Seattle called The Pink Door, and it is in the Pike Place Market area, and it's sort of like down under. It's like in there. You have to like take a couple,
Like in like the post alley, like
It's
that kind of down there?
yeah,
Or? Got
yeah.
it. Okay.
It's sort of like next to the post alley. It's not quite in post
Sure.
alley, but it's in an alley.
Okay.
You kind of have to like know where it's at, because on the outside, like the facade of it, it's literally like a metal steel pink door with no markings in an alleyway, and you're just like, what is this? And then you open it and you go downstairs, and it's like a little, beautiful little speakeasy that's like an Italian restaurant, and they have like things flying from the ceiling or hanging from the ceiling, and also people. They have aerialists that come from the
Wow,
ceiling.
okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. And a bunch of really good decor and a bunch of really good food. Oh my God, such great food. And they used to have this thing where the show that would happen every Saturday night, and it would be like burlesque and cabaret at the Pink Door every Saturday night, no matter what, for like I actually don't know, 30 years.
That's a long time. Okay.
I'm going to say that. It's probably not, but maybe.
Okay.
But for a while, a long time. And it was like a tradition that was there in the city and in the burlesque community for a really long time. And everybody would like be a part of it. And that was my first gig. I was invited to be a part of it, to be a stage kitten first, like an interactive stage kitten. A stage kitten, if anyone doesn't know, is a person who is not like a slotted performer in the lineup that's just doing an act. It is a person who's sort of a stagehand helper, where they'll come on stage and they'll pick up all of the things that have been like dropped, or like any set dressings that needs to be put on there in between. It's a cute, fun job, because you get to like be interactive with the MC or the audience, and it's just like a little in between, kind of like, I'm here and I'm setting this up for the next thing, and you don't know what it is, and you will soon. I'm off track. But that show went on for so long, and I did it pretty much almost every Saturday. It was so fun. And they would have the performers get ready in the office. They didn't really have a backstage, because it's a restaurant. It's literally a restaurant. And so they would stick, 12 of us in in someone's like office. So the like manager or like owner will just be sitting down doing like, I don't know, taxes, and there's just a bunch of butts around. And they were always so nice to us. We could get food afterwards, or maybe like a drink afterwards. So maybe I'm just like food driven, like a dog. Maybe that's why I liked it so much. But because it was such a frequent show, and pretty much everybody in the city who was a performer would be a part of the show, and so you get to meet a lot of like cool new people. Like, it was something I always looked forward to. Definitely one of my favorite jobs. Unfortunately, when the pandemic hit, it like went away, and it never came back. I think they still have aerialists performing, though, I think on like Mondays. It's not quite a show. I think it's just aerialists that come down and hang out while you...
Atmospheric.
Okay. You're having some noodles, and you look up and you're like, whoa.
Okay.
That
sounds like a fun environment.
It's super fun. Yeah. Still fun to go to, but...
Sure.
Do miss the show.
What's it like being on stage for you?
Oh man, I black out.
Music goes, you remember nothing. You wake up backstage.
No, it is an interesting feeling that you can't get anywhere else, and it's so fleeting, and it's never the same. Each time is different. So at least for me. And when I'm on stage, something in me like switches, where you kind of become another person. And part of that is like, I don't know, getting into character, I suppose, because you are kind of becoming a different person for other people. And And once I like have that on, you kind of have to figure out how the audience is feeling, because a lot of it is working off of the energy that they give to you, whether it be like soft and demure and classy, or like rowdy and crazy, drunken mess, you know. You kind of have to like feel it out. And then I kind of have to like match that and where my energy is going to be. And then go through the routine. It's actually not very sexy. It's very methodical.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people ask me like, "Oh my God, like how do you stop from getting, you know, really horny on stage? It's so hot that you like get naked." And I'm like, "No, man, I have spreadsheets in my head because like at this moment, very specifically, I have to do this, and then on this song, I have to do this." It's like giving a TED talk, but you know, with your body.
Right.
And so you kind of have to like hit all of these moments, and then you have to figure out how hard you have to hit it in terms of like where the energy is in the room. Like, where can I go? Can I step off stage? Can I mess with the people? And then do I have enough time to do this, that, or whatever? Like it's not, you know, very free flowing and sexy. And I'm like, you know, my boobs or something.
I love asking this question because for the performer, it's a very different experience than being in the audience. I was talking to a dancer friend, and they had just done this beautiful performance. It was, you know, lyrical dance, and it was just very touching, emotional song. Absolutely beautiful. I think some people cried. But in the performer's head, they were like, all right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, as they're just going through their routine. Like you said, it's very methodical. They're thinking of moves and motions to checkpoints, and they're just hitting these things in time because they've done this hundreds of times in practice. It's just so funny, the divergence of experiences between the person doing the thing and the people watching.
Yeah, no, I can. Yep. Can relate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That is very interesting that you bring that up of like doing it hundreds of times or like over and over again.
Yeah.
Like I get that too, where it's like, oh, I've done this act like several times. Like, how do I make this time, I don't know, different? How do I put energy back into it? Because to me, I'm like, another day of work, working 9 to 5, boop boop. But yeah, but what really makes it so wonderful is getting those reactions from the audience. And like when people come up to you afterwards and they were excited or they were crying, they're like, "Oh my God, I've never seen something like that. That's so cool." I'm like, "Ah, yes." Oh, that's why I do it.
So you like to be more on like the people driven side, you know, put on a good show and a performance, and you feel the appreciation and love from the crowd. Because, you know, some people, it's on the opposite side. The people watching, they just happen to be there, and the person on stage is just kind of doing this for themselves because they like to go through the performance and they like to be seen, not necessarily by the audience, but just to be in their own mind seen. So it's always a fun thing to ask performers why they do it. And it sounds like you're very audience driven. That's cool.
Yeah. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Reasons why they do it. But yeah, for me, I love to make people laugh. I love to make people smile. I love spreading joy. I want to be the reason that people are like, you know, happy that day or like excited to talk about something. I want to like give that experience, you know. Joy is so like far and few and in between and fleeting, you know, and you can get it from anywhere. And I just like want to spread it more.
Cool. Well, it sounds like you're in the right profession for that. So good for you.
Yeah, I guess.
What's the balance between, because, you know, you do burlesque clowning. What's the balance between fun and sexy?
Ooh, well,
and it can be both, yeah.
Balance is implying that they're two separate things.
Sure.
For me, I would say that it's pretty much one and the same.
Okay.
And people kind of forget that like sexy can also be like fun and funny. Even just in like normal human times when maybe
Absolutely.
you're like having a sexual relations with someone, you don't, it doesn't always have to be like hot, heavy breathing and
Of
like,
course.
ooh, but you know, like we're all human. We're weird. We like make weird noises and faces, and sometimes we're stinky and sweaty.
Yeah.
And like it's unserious. Like we just have to remember that like there are other things that it doesn't have to be this like very serious, sexy thing. We can laugh at ourselves. We could take this time to be like, yeah, look at this like crazy meat sack that I have, and these even smaller meat sacks that I have on my body. Look at what they do. Isn't it weird? Yeah, and so it sort of flowing through in and out of being like really serious and sexy and like reminding people like this is all for fun, this is all a joke,
Yeah.
this is hilarious. And I don't know, being funny is maybe sexy. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're doing a sex to someone, like if you should
Yes.
just have fun with it and enjoy the moment. Like you said, it doesn't have to be, serious the entire time. There's many ways to go about this. Okay, so less of a balance. I love the clarification you made because they're not opposites. There's no implied balance. They can be the same.
They
So,
can be lovers, if you will.
oh, crazy.
Yes.
No, that's really cool. What advice would you have for anyone who's looking to do what you do? Someone who is maybe, just getting into the craft, they're a little bit unsure about themselves, but they want to pursue it. The interest is there. They just don't really have the tools yet to do so.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources. Thankfully, here in Seattle, there's a lot you can do. But you can find your local burlesque shows no matter where you are. Just sort of go online on Instagram or anything and just type in your city and and then burlesque or burlesque show and start going to all of them. And not just the really expensive like glitz and glam ones like when Dita Von Teese comes to your town. Those are fun too, but also keep in mind that there's many different facets of burlesque and how it can look. I mean, look at me. But there's other ways that people express themselves with this art form, and it's really important to sort of stay open-minded that it can look any different way. So like going to the really big dinner and a show, glitz and glam, expensive like shows, but it's also really important to go to your local ones that are like at a dive bar for $5. Go to those. There's all sorts of different body types that do this because this art form is for every single person and any kind of body. So like go to your boylesque shows, go to your festivals, and each festival can have like a different theme, and so go to like big ones and small ones and like keep an open mind that it could be anything and all of it is important. And once you start going to all of them, the scene is small. So the performers will remember you. Like I know all of my regulars, regulars, like I'm making them coffee, but like, I know a lot of my fans personally. And I just think that they're cool people and they come to all my shows and they're here to support. And because of that, I'm able to then reach out to them and be like, oh, there is maybe this spot, like I need someone to man the door of the show, or I need a kitten for the show. I have a performer friend who's doing one-on-one classes. Would you like to be interested to be on the list? Things like that. So just like getting your face out there is probably number one, I would say. And then there are performers who do classes. So you can reach out to your local performer. Like if you have a favorite performer, send them a DM, send them an email, say, like, I'm really interested in what you do. Can I please hire you for like maybe an hour? And then we can talk about like how I can start. Like
Yeah.
everyone would be open to that. I mean, like, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but
Most,
ask.
yeah.
I would ask. And third, there's a lot of festivals and conventions that happen around the world, really. Now that there's kind of a bigger resurgence, I feel. You can go here in Seattle. We have something called BurleyCon, and it's just one example.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so burlesque convention, and anyone can attend. You don't have to be a working professional or a hobbyist or anything like that. You could just come, and you can take classes. And there are professionals from all over the world who come and give classes or talks or like workshops or anything like that. And you can go as any of that. And yeah, there's a lot of small little classes here and there. You could take like fan classes or chair dances. And yeah, so that in a combination is like a good place to start.
No, those are fantastic resources. So I think that's really, really important. The key to my success in every venture that I've done has always been networking, getting FaceTime with the people, doing the thing, and just showing up over and over. And then eventually you ask them like, hey, I want to do the thing too. And most are really accommodating and they teach you. And it's super helpful. Community is massive. So those are great outer work steps. What about the inner work, the emotional side of things, the confidence and the willingness to perform and put yourself out there, the vulnerability? What would you say to someone who's trying to tackle those aspects too?
Oh, God, go to therapy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I do. Step number 1, go to therapy. But I think what you said is kind of it. Just having, first of all, the willingness to do it, to really get out of your own way and say like, I don't know what I'm doing. Then you are so open to receive any kind of information. Yeah. So just like be willing to be taught and have an open mind. So like you can't have any biases. You cannot, have like crazy bigoted opinions. You have to like be willing to know that there's all kinds of people out there and ways to learn and things to feel and like how to process each emotion. There's different ways that you can do that. And it isn't just like one set of way to do it. And there aren't any rules. And so once you release that and be like, yeah, I actually don't know what I'm doing. So if you're telling me that, there's a fucking purple big elephant with a hat on up in the sky right now, there is. Okay. So that is one way. And therapy.
Yes, the big therapy, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. No, it's learning more about clowning in that whole world has been such a fascinating journey. Just because, from an outside perspective, before I talked to a bunch of clowns, I had the perspective of a common person, and I really knew nothing about here. And it's just, there's so much depth, and it's really, really interesting. And there's so much more to the art form and the craft that I ever could have envisioned from the outside looking in. And I wish more people knew that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, me too.
So a closing tradition that we have on the show is the previous guest leaves a question for the current guest, not knowing who the current guest may be. So the question that's been left for you is, what was the most important lesson that you've learned in the process of becoming who you are?
Is knowing that you are going to drop the ball. Let me explain. When I first started to learn juggling, I was learning from someone and I was very bad at it. I'm not very coordinated. Surprisingly, who would know? A clown not being able to walk without tripping.
Weird.
Innovative. So I was starting to try to learn juggling, and I kept dropping, and I was like, wow, I'm a piece of shit. I'm not immediately good at this thing that I just picked up. I hate myself. And then the person that was teaching me told me this and was like, okay, the thing about juggling, the first thing that you need to know is that you are going to drop the ball. No matter how good you are, no matter how long you've been doing it, no matter what it is that you are even juggling, you're going to drop it. Drops happen. That's part of it. And it doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that you're terrible or never going to learn. It means that you started the process. And I thought that was so profound. And so that's what I kind of have been taken with me in all aspects of living. I'm going to drop the ball, and I have to be okay with that because it's part of the process. And it doesn't mean that I'm bad, and it doesn't mean that I'm devalued in any way. It just means that I've started.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful life lesson because, the implications of that are huge. It teaches you that it's okay to fail. It teaches you that you have a growth mindset and you can learn skills and get better at them over time.
Yeah.
It implies that you have an inherent self-worth and it's not tied to your ability to execute on something. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And it helps a lot with clowning too. Yeah. Just like you're going to fail. That's the point.
I've known jugglers who've been juggling for 30 plus years and, even in big performances, they still drop the ball. Granted, they're throwing like 17 balls in the air, not actually, but sometimes.
17. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a really, really good thing. Just keep in the back of your mind, like, it's okay and it happens and you just kind of pick it back up and you just go right back into the routine and it's okay. That's great.
Yeah. It was very profound.
Very cool. So where can people find you and where would you like to draw people's attention to?
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. This is something that I also wanted to talk about. I didn't even
tell me more. Yeah.
So you can find me not anywhere right now.
Okay.
Because I have been scrubbed from the internet, apparently. I had like a Facebook and an Instagram and all those things. And all of them were all like taken down. And yes.
Yeah, that's not great.
Not good at all. And that is something that has been plaguing the burlesque world specifically, but also in like other types of sexiness or like sexy clowning for as long as those sites have been alive. It's so crazy that like in the world or like the society that we live in is so closed-minded to like, I'm saying like a lot. I'm so sorry. I'm nervous. But they just seem so conservative and closed-minded and don't really want people to express themselves in any sort of way that isn't on their terms.
Yeah.
And if it is outside of those bounds, they're going to say like, no, you're out of here. You can't use, any of our networking devices or utilities or whatever. Sure. And when you have those kinds of boundaries up that are so vague, it's anything that makes me feel uncomfortable. It's like, well, what specifically? And they're like, I don't know, whatever it is that you're doing is making me uncomfortable. So you're gone from the internet. And it's just, I'm so sorry. Mark Zuckerberg is in this mic trying to silence me. He knows. But because of that, it's so frustrating and so hard and difficult to kind of it's important to have like a presence online and being able to like have an outreach in some sort of way. But it's been really difficult for myself and people like me or people in this kind of work of like trying to please other people. Mm-hmm. It's difficult because there's so much like puritanical kind of mindset in the people who are like in charge of what people say on the internet or like people in charge of the internet in general, because they think it's supposed to be one way. We're supposed to use networking as a tool to get a human job where you do tech. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I got you.
But anything outside of that is a no and should be shunned upon and whatever. Like a banned book or something.
Yeah.
Which to me makes me feel like I'm doing something right. If like a big millionaire baddie is gonna be offended by my shoulder skin. It's like, my shoulder skin is probably doing something good.
There you go.
Like really pushing against that mindset. But I did want to shed a light on that.
Yeah, it's a really important topic. Even under the best circumstances, it's really fucking hard to do what you do. So to add more stuff to that, it presents a very, challenging experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say to anyone watching, like, reach out personally to your local performers, even if they're like a club dancer, a burlesque dancer, a big glitz glamour like circus performer, or even clowns. Like, if a clown has a photo of doing anything other than giving a child a balloon, they're gonna get like ostracized or taken off the internet as well. Like, anybody who's on the fringes is probably having a hard time staying present on the internet. And just reach out to them personally or locally, or like talk to them all after the show and say like, how can I personally like support you? And they'll probably have like one way, either an email list or flyers, a business card, a sticker. You can buy their merch somehow. There are like other ways to support. And I just like really want to get that out there.
Of course.
And so you can find me. Let's see. My name is spelled Tout. First name. Last name D''Lou.
Okay.
Last name. And I'm gonna try to maybe get back onto those sites that will not be named, but you can find me on an OnlyFans page.
Support you, yes.
Yes, support. My Venmo is TOUT-DLOU. And then you can find me in a lot of performances around Seattle. I'm doing a lot of work with Sunday Night Sugar Shack. I do that a lot. It's a really great, it's a monthly all POC burlesque and cabaret show that happens on the second Sunday of every month in Theater Off Jackson. Please go support. Those kinds of safe spaces are so important. So go and support. And I have a show coming up, but I believe this is going to come out probably after that date, because it's
depending. You can shout out the show, and then I can move things around. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well. But so you can shoot me an email at tout.dlou@gmail.com, and that is how you get me to be into your show or anything like that. But yeah, if you look up that name, I travel the country a lot and to do a lot of different shows. So try to see if I will show up in your local show. I'm so sorry. I had like a definitive, like, this is my website. Maybe I should make a website. You know what?
I think it's a good idea. But hey, I can take all of the links that you just mentioned and I will put them in the description box down below. And if and when a website pops up, I will throw it in there too.
Listen, I went to art school. I wasn't made to be a computer person.
It's okay. It's hard being a computer person. I got you. Well, I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot about both you and clowning, the burlesque side of clowning. Fascinating topics. I would love to chat more. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. I hope you guys had a good time as well. If you have any more questions for me, I don't know, leave a comment. Maybe
Holler.
I'll holler at you. Oh my gosh. I also have a TikTok.
Oh, TikTok.
I have a TikTok. My TikTok is at tout.dlou. And I'm really active on there. They're great there.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Gosh, I really hope it never goes away. We'll see. But find me there. It's like the Wild West of the internet. I say. I cry every day on that app.
Yes.
But if you want some more clowning / stripping advice, holla at your boy.
Sounds great. Again, I'll put that in the description box down below. Thank you so much. I appreciate having you.
Thank you for having me. Goodbye.
Cheers.